Welcome to your community. This is your hometown. This is Walton Entertainment. This is where you can hear from the community and those making a difference. We explore topics, local festivals, arts and entertainment, and local news. For this program and much more, visit us online at yourlocalstream.com. That's yourlocalstream.com.
John Howard, so thank you for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to turn it over to you and let you tell us what's going on in this fine city.
Absolutely. I have the opportunity to speak to a lot of groups, and generally it goes anywhere from 3 minutes to an hour. So 10 minutes?
15.
Okay. So, glad to know everybody here. You know me, I'm John Howard, grew up here. Have been mayor, I'm now in my 6th year, so the second year of my second term. And over the course of the first 5 years, our goal was to move from, let's just say it, dilapidated housing owned by slumlords and bring in some better quality housing. As we have done that, as we've knocked down some homes, as we've unfortunately had to get rid of an entire neighborhood, we have replaced those. We've had some people come in from Atlanta, Gwinnett County, DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton, who are moving here, frankly, for a more conservative community, more faith-based, more patriotic, and that's the direction that we've headed so far. Those folks have come in and bought homes and have invested in rebuilding and renovating, or as Chief Glass used to say, renovating those homes to the point now that it's tough to find anything under $300,000. So we're now getting hit by the folks that say, we really need affordable housing, and that's something that I don't know that is going to be a successful way to move forward. I just don't. I think we're going to keep doing, as a city, the best we can to make things cleaner, safer, more attractive to people who want to be here, and that just makes things more expensive. So we are looking at doing some things like we have approved an apartment complex, 241 units. It's workforce housing. It's going out right next to the industrial park. I don't see us approving another apartment complex for several years. We have a 1,600 square foot minimum house if you do any infill development around the city. So anything 1,600 square feet or more, you're looking at about $240 a square foot. So that's taking you out of what we would normally consider affordable. And we consider affordable something for a teacher and a firefighter couple to be able to purchase. Affordable means different things to different folks. And the affordability index I want is something that people can afford who are actually contributing to the long-term success of Monroe, not just folks who moved out of a house because their rent of 20 years at $700 just jumped to $1,600, and now they're coming begging for us to do something for them to keep them at $750. We're just not going to do that. I can't foresee this council making any decision to get into more public housing because we already have 9 public housing units. They're full. They're very nice. No drugs. No people can spend the night. So as those have been successful, some folks are going to really have to pull up the bootstraps and buy something a little bit nicer. And what turns out is that they go from their $750 a month with a $1,200 utility bill to $1,200 a month with a $600 utility bill. So this long-term success on their moving is going to be just much greater for their families and descendants. We did have a housing expo on Saturday. At the Boys and Girls Club. Lynn Hill hosted us. Lynn's a great guy. We had Habitat for Humanity, which is kind of faltered in Walton about 10 years ago. We've partnered with Gwinnett. They've now come in and started doing some houses here. We have, I think, 7 that we'll do this year. Just so you know, and I think it's important for our service organizations to know this, because you're kind of the best of the best. Not meaning to stroke your ego, but you've given a lot for this community. Habitat houses aren't free. And I know you probably already all know that, but that word needs to get out, because they think, oh my gosh, they're building a Habitat house, somebody's living rent free. Nothing could be further from the truth. Generally, it's a new design that they're doing. A Habitat house used to be a little box, vinyl siding with a door and a window and a roof. Now, there's some of the nicer homes in the neighborhoods that they're going in. We just did one for a family of 5 with 4 bedrooms. It is on Turner Street. It probably would sell to the general public for $350,000. Amanda Harrelson's a friend of mine who was the recipient. They put in the sweat equity. A lot of businesses donate time, service, money, whatever, and then she gets a low interest loan that covers the cost of the house, which is great. Now, the other thing that we need to know about Habitat, and I won't stay on housing for very long. The other thing we need to know about Habitat, though, is every person who's a Habitat recipient puts in sweat equity. They help build a previous home, then they help build their home, and then they help build the following home. Great. So they're learning what to do. They also take budgeting classes, and they take how-to and fix-it classes, things that I probably should have done when I was a first-time homeowner. I should probably do now. But Habitat's a way that we're going to strengthen the affordability of some of the houses in Monroe.
Can you say what that house sells for under Habitat?
That house under Habitat's probably $275. So yeah, it's a lot of house. But where are you going to find a 4-bedroom house, concrete hardy plank siding, 30-year roof?
Turner Street.
Guess what? No, you won't. Not that house. So anyway, it's just our efforts to help make things affordable for the public here. What folks always want to know, they always want to know what's coming, what's happening, and we want to hear about events. So I'm not going to tell you about any of that yet. And I did. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody we all know and love who likes to complain, and he's a good friend of mine. And he said, you just aren't paying the right folks enough money. You're paying these folks too much and these folks not enough. Well, okay, sometimes I think teachers need to be paid more and principals need to be paid less, but that's not up to me. But Monroe had, and what I told him, I said, look, we have an $88 million budget in the city of Monroe. Do you really want to pay the boss $50,000 and say, good luck? No, you don't. Because you will never get the quality you need to manage a budget like that. We're a full service city, and there are not a lot of us around the state that are full service. So we're water, sewer, gas, electric, cable, which we are going to drop, internet, fiber is the project that we're taking to every home in town. We also do public safety, police, fire, EMTs, all that stuff. So it's an organization, it's just a big business. And there are only very few ways that we can actually make money to offset any costs that the taxpayers may incur. One of those is water. We're selling about 1 million gallons a day to Loganville now. We may pump that up to about 3 million gallons. We're permitted for 10 million gallons a day. So we may pump Loganville up to about 3 million in the next few years. Though there's gas. We don't make any money on gas to our public. But we do run a line to Morgan County, and they pay a little bit extra, so we make some money off that. And then third is fiber. It's the fiber project. Similar to gas. We're not going to make very much on Monroe. That's a service. You know, taxpayers pay us to make their lives better. We hope. But I was on a call this morning with Meta, with Facebook, and they want us to run fiber out in the county. Walton EMC, the EMCs have gotten into that business. Walton does not want to be in that business. They say Monroe's done well. We're going to take it out into the county to the Walton EMC customers. Meta wants us to take it to Morgan County. We're heading that direction too. That is going to be a long-term cash cow. It's going to be a lot of upfront costs. We did a $50 million revenue bond about 2.5 years ago to take fiber to every home in town. Great. But we also had supply chain issues. So we ran fiber and we blew conduit and all that stuff all over the place. But we didn't have the plug and play. So the fiber may be there, but it's not connected to your house, and it didn't have a box. So that's where we are now. As of yesterday, we were 1,440 customers were connected to our fiber. We're probably running at about 100 a week now that we're adding, and we'll double or triple that in the coming months. So that's exciting. Then we go to the events thing that everybody always sees. Last year, 2 years ago, we had 113,000 visitors that would come to our events. So car show and Christmas parade are always the top two. You know, every year the voters pick one or the other. We have Flower Festival was huge. We had 12,000 people here for that. Our concerts are great. Last month we had 6,500 people. But 113,000 2 years ago, last year 206,000. Our downtown, which for those of us, and I think just about all of us grew up here, I remember boarded up buildings. I remember not a lot of successful businesses in town. Right now we're full. We're expanding. Obviously, you've seen us tear down some things and pop up some new stuff and renovate buildings. So right now, Sanders Consign and Design and Brown Fig are two of our newer establishments. The number one renovation of the year in the state was the Road. If you haven't been there, I really suggest trying it. Food's fantastic. The service is great. Make sure you bring your wallet because it's really, really not cheap, but it is worth every penny. I had another business last night reach out wanting to move to Monroe, and we just don't have space for them yet. So we're trying to find some. You know, Chris Collin has done LR Burger and Strange Taco, but he's got another wing place that's opening in the next few weeks. That's right on the other side of Strange Taco. We have Chad Draper, who is redeveloping the old Ford building with a potential establishment. I don't want to give it away, especially on video, Paul. Potential establishment that will really be a tourism draw. Southern Brewing Company's done extremely well, and I had the opportunity to speak to Rotary last week, and on their 85th anniversary, and they told me, you have 3 minutes. So I had to get up there and be very quick. But I said, look, I've quoted one philosopher ever, and his name's Heraclitus. And he said, and I'm looking at Charlie and Jim, where'd Jim go? I was looking at Jim, I thought, he's sitting next to Sydney. Wasn't Jim Brown here?
No.
It was Sydney's white hair gave it away. All right, then I'm looking at Charlie. Heraclitus said that no man ever sticks his toe in the same river twice, because the river's always changing, and so is the man, right? So my father grew up in Monroe, lived in the county jail. I grew up in Monroe, which was a totally different era than what he did, and my children are growing up in a totally different town than I did, but it's all the same place, right? So as we move forward, the other night was at the livery stable, and I said, "Look, think about it. 85 years ago, the livery stable they were shoeing horses, and now it's the Wayfarer Events Hall, and who knows what it's going to be 85 years from now." So taking the job and running for the job as mayor, and then the second time, and I'm pretty sure I'll make an attempt at 3. We're making decisions based on what's for the best interest of Monroe 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now. So the way we look at things is, safety's number one. I got this from Disney. I worked at Walt Disney in college, so we did safety, courtesy, efficiency, and show. Those are the 4 pillars of success for Disney. And so safety is always first. Courtesy, be polite, right? Efficiency is what we really strive for, especially with traffic. By the way, today is the 1st. Today is the day that we start the bypass, the truck route. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that they're going to go out there and start digging today or not, but they're looking at 2 years, and that will be getting 2,000 trucks a day that are currently coming through downtown. That'll get 2,000 trucks out of town. Quiet things should allow us. Nobody stays up night worrying more than I do about some kid pulling away from his mom trying to run across Broad Street to Scoops. Oh, God, traffic, it scares me to death. So at least we'll get the trucks out of town, and on weekends we will shut down Broad Street from Highland Avenue to Washington Street. So it'll be a walkable mall, basically.
Every weekend?
That's the plan, is every weekend from Friday afternoon at 5 to Monday morning at 5. Again, that's a 2-year process to go, but part of my attempts at building a successful Monroe, and luckily it just dovetailed with Logan, and it dovetailed nicely with our budget. And by the way, we had COVID. We had a 22.5% sales tax revenue increase the year that we all stayed home, and I think that's part of loving your neighbors. We spent our money here locally, but it also gave us some time to plan, gave us some time with supply chains holding us off. It kept us from really booming housing-wise, because folks say there's a lot of growth in Monroe, but there's not. We've been growing 1% a year over the last 10 years. So if you look outside the city limits, there's a lot of growth. But we have a planner that will allow or will not allow certain things to be done here. And we've met with the county last week, and the other cities within the county, and said, this is what we think needs to happen for the long-term success of our region. And a couple of them smirked, and then they went back and they did their thing. But they don't have planners. They have, and I'll be perfectly honest, I want a popularity contest. That you picked me to be the representative cheerleader in a popularity contest. Now, am I the one you want running in a business for $80 million? No. County's done much the same thing with having David Thompson as chairman and then John Ward as the manager. John Ward is built for that. You can't do it on a popularity contest basis. So the same thing when it comes to planning. Charlie comes to me and says, hey, I want to put in this neighborhood. And I go, looks great. Charlie, you're my friend. I think this is great. And then I take it to the other popularity contest winners, and they go, yeah, we love Charlie. He'll do something great, and sign off on it. And that's the way it works in many areas around the state and most every town in our county except for us. So we've kind of put the brakes on the growth best we can, but what is coming is quality growth. And I will also apologize for previous generations, because has anybody seen Meadows Farm out across from Poplar Street?
Yes.
Okay, approved in 2008. Nobody is happy right now. And we're continuing to try to hold their feet to the fire.
But further down that Stone Creek's about the same level.
No. The houses might be, but when you drive by Stone Creek, you see nice landscaping, buffering. You don't see that at Meadows Walk. So, listen, if you want a semi-affordable home, Stone Creek, you're looking at $350,000, and the homes are well built. And I can't say the homes in Meadows Walk are not well built, but I can say they didn't do anything to benefit the long-term success of town just by throwing up boxes. It just didn't. That's why it's important to have a plan. So that's what we're working on, but we can't go back and say everything that was approved in 2008, you're off the table from now and you need to come back to us. So we're working through that, and that's the process. Thank you. Okay, I have 2 minutes. So here's the thing. We've rebuilt every park, or we're rebuilding every park. Started with Childers, went to pilot. Downtown Green should be open October 1st. Got 123 acres donated for the River Park. We'll start the first phase next year. The second phase the year after that. Hammond Park, looking at a little redevelopment there. That's going to take some input. Cokerfield, we're looking at moving our armory out to Coker. We're working right now with the National Guard and trying to get that underway. And then events. So we have a concert Friday night. We had 6,500 people at our concert last month. We'll probably expect around 6,500 to 7,000 to each of our concerts at the historic courthouse this year, and then we'll move those to the Downtown Green next year. So, are there any questions?
What's going in the old Universal Rundle?
Universal Rundle sold to a gentleman who went in and tried to make some changes without having all the proper permitting and things like that. Finally, he threw his hands up in the air, and he has sold that again. So I'll know more in the coming months, but I don't know exactly what it is yet. But I'll try to find out and let you know. Yes, sir.
Do we have townhouse code here now, or provisions for townhouse? Because I understand the one right across from the new town green is going to be townhouse.
Right, 7 townhomes going there. Yes, we do.
Because we haven't had that for long.
No, we haven't. And again, that's our attempts to address a little bit of affordability. But those are $400,000 a piece. And, it is
The
right.
reason I asked that was from the old mill situation down at the airport. Those were townhouse, condo, something.
Oh.
It wasn't ever properly planned, and it's a mess.
Okay.
So I knew we didn't have.
I'll address that too. That's where you don't want a 2008 to happen, because that builder, that developer of those apartments went belly up and halfway finished some of the stuff. So the Baptist church in their sweet wisdom went over and did their backyard church camp, and they called and said, "This play area looks awful, you need to come fix it." So I go driving out and I was like, how could Public Works let this get like this? A little more research. It was the builder still owned it, the builder who went bankrupt. So the people who lived there couldn't even touch it. So we're working through that, but the townhome side of things is fine. It's the actual development in and around those that's the tough part.
That was just a.
It's still tied up
all the
legally.
way around.
That's still tied up legally.
Well, John, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
I know we could talk all day probably.
Well,
but,
you give me an hour, I'll take an hour.
John's always available if you ever have any questions for you. He's readily available to answer everybody's question, talk to you. So feel free to reach out if you want to talk to him directly. So
Sure, and you probably all have my number, but if folks are actually watching, Paul, 404-427-2707 is my mobile number, and pretty easy to remember. The email address is jhoward@monroega.gov.
Thank you, John.
thank you
I'm
for
so
being
glad
here,
to see y'all. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
I'm sure he's going to tell you more about it, but he is with Clean Energy Biofuels. And I personally have not heard you speak, so I am so excited to hear about what you're doing in Walton County. So thank you so much for being here. And you can stand up and talk. You can stand up there. You
Well,
can
I'll
go
just-
to the podium.
I'll
Whatever
just
you feel
stand right here if that
comfortable with.
works.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, face the camera.
all of this?
So I think I've been talking here for maybe 10 or 15 years. And time goes by so fast. To catch some of y'all up that weren't in these original meetings, we had these really big ideas of starting a biodiesel plant. In biodiesel, you can take a vegetable oil, you can take used cooking oil, you can take poultry fats, and you can run it through a chemical process and make a fuel that you can blend in and put in any diesel vehicle without changes. It's a drop-in fuel. And so we started that in 2006 over really just not even a stone's throw away from here, right over behind Bacchus Pest Control. And we bought the land. It was an old, really, they had cars and trucks and all of that, and then we kind of moved out. It was a junkyard, and then we graded it and we put in the start of our plant. And so I want to take you through I think the easiest way to tell you about what we're doing is take you through this crazy story of renewable fuels. We started in 2008, and it was me and my wife and another family, the Johnson family, and they actually have land out by Hard Labor Creek. And we were going to start with a prototype plant, and we were going to do about 1 million gallons a year of biodiesel. We started doing that, and then after 2 years, we were looking at the books, and we're like, we're working our butts off, and there's no margin here. What's going on? And so what we realized is the feedstock prices, the oils that we were getting in, we were competing with the feed market, because traditionally where that oil would go is it goes into a feed blend for chickens or cattle or swine. They'll use that as a fat portion of the ingredients. And so we were competing with them, and their prices kept going up, and so our price for feedstock kept going up. And it was really hard to make any money. Now we were powering at that point. We were dealing with Whole Foods Distribution Center. We were dealing with powering Georgia Power's fleet. We had a whole host of customers that wanted to have a percentage of green fuel in, because biodiesel is 87% less carbon than diesel fuel, and the emissions are lower. So a lot of people wanted to go on board because they didn't have to do anything to their fleets in order to run this fuel. Well, once we realized that feedstock was an issue, we decided we needed to get control of the feedstock costs. So we started collecting oil from restaurants. And I don't know if y'all are familiar, but when they fry, they got to change that oil so often. And what they'll do is they'll empty that fryer basket, and then they'll put it in a bin in the back. And a traditional restaurant will go through about 80,000 gallons of oil a month. And so that's the oil that we would collect. And we started to build our fleet because you have to have a service truck that can go out and vacuum out these containers. So we started getting into trucking. We built the fleet, and we were servicing the Atlanta, Athens, that kind of area. And we kind of grew it up, and I think this was probably a few years ago, we decided, okay, well, we need to also expand our territory, because now we're dealing with national contracts, and some of these restaurants like Longhorns and Olive Garden, they have national presence, and they don't want to deal with a ton of vendors. So we ended up putting an extension. We bought into another facility outside of Richmond, Virginia. We bought another facility out of Summerdale, Alabama, which is right now near to Mobile, Alabama. And then we got a facility in St. Mary's, which is very proximate to Jacksonville. There's a lot of frying going on there. So we're those coastal regions are really important because they love to fry food, and they're frying seafood, And so you gotta change the oil because that food taste will get into other food. So we get some restaurants that will go through 400 gallons of oil in a month. And so that's kind of the presence that we built. And then from there, we still had another big cost, and that's wastewater, because when they empty those fryers, there's about 25 to 30% wastewater in that. And so you got to go and find a place to dispose of that. Well, we wanted to attack that cost, so we partnered with Apex Environmental, which is a grease trap company. Grease trap is a little different than oil collection in that we just set a bin out back and then they dump the oil in. Grease traps are interceptors where they the municipalities don't want that fog, fats, oil, and greases getting into the sewer treatment facilities because it shuts it down. And so that's a regulatory part of any state, any county, any city. They have a regulation where you've got to have it serviced on average. Most of them are quarterly. And that when that truck pulls up, those grease traps can be anywhere from 40 gallons to 2,000 gallons. And some of the Walmarts, they'll have 2 or 3 2,000 gallon grease traps, so you can have 6,000 gallons. To give you an idea of what 6,000 gallons looks like, the big semis with the tankers, that's about 6,000 gallons. So you gotta get that water, and then you gotta have a place to discharge. So we ended up partnering with this grease trap company. They're probably the second largest in Atlanta, and we bought a wastewater treatment plant in North Atlanta. And so we'll take in the water and we'll clean it up and we'll take out the grease, and then we'll discharge that to Cobb County's sewer facility. So that's been a big learning curve. So we've always been pivoting because in renewable fuels, they're sponsored by the government to some degree. The government says, hey, we want to have this amount of clean energy, and so they create incentives, and those credits or incentives are market driven, so the fluctuations are just constantly up and down. So at this point in our lifetime, we've learned to adjust. We realized we had to get control of the feedstock, so we started dealing with restaurants, and now we have 3,000 restaurants we operate in about a 6-state area. We have a fleet of semi-trucks. We've got about 18 semi-trucks and 20 straight trucks that kind of cover that area. And then what we do is we bring that oil back and we clean it up, and now we don't make biodiesel anymore except for just a very few customers. And we have turned around and now we're selling to the majors. So Valero, Chevron, Neste, Marathon, there's another one, PBF. These are some of the biggest refiners in the world. And what they're able to do is they can take a unit and plug it onto their traditional crude oil refinery and now take in this carbon neutral feedstock and create what's called renewable diesel. And so that renewable diesel has the same physical traits as diesel fuel. The only difference is it's carbon neutral. And so we have become the suppliers to those groups, and we're moving about, I'd say, 100 tanker loads a month down to them. So we're running to New Orleans, or we're running up to Cincinnati or to Savannah, and cleaning out oil and giving it to them. And so there's been a couple of big challenges lately. One is the traceability. The EPA wants to know if you're making fuel out of used cooking oil, that it really is used cooking oil. So now we have to, for every load, we give them a manifest and we say, for this load, it came from these 150 restaurants, and that restaurant was on this date and this time, this driver picked it up, and it was this amount of volume. So that has just been absolutely tough. But it's for a reason, because there's a lot of Chinese UCO out there, and all they were doing is taking palm oil and then taking a little frying grease and throwing it in and calling it used cooking oil, and then selling it. So the traceability is good, but it's hard because now you're having to deal with FIFO and all this technology to trace this stuff. But the other thing, you probably saw it on the news just the other day, is we've been trying to bust these theft rings. And they're really dangerous people. Basically, it's organized crime. And they've got people that go out and they steal oil from our bins. It costs us about anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to just set up a restaurant. So we have an asset sitting in the back. And these thieves are just driving around willy-nilly and stealing our oil at night. And so when they're stealing the oil, we know one guy that we worked with investigators and worked with PIs, and we finally got him busted. But he was probably stealing $250,000 of oil a month. And these guys carry guns. They're the last guy that was with this guy's company that we just busted got murdered, got shot in the head, probably because he was infringing on somebody's territory. So it's been kind of a wild ride. And we know renewables aren't going to go away. Where we are, we have a plug-in fuel, and when you deal with the majors, they're able to put that in the pipeline, and you can run it just like any other diesel fuel, no retrofits to your car. And unlike biodiesel will gel in the winter. It'll get kind of like bacon grease, right? It'll kind of set up, where renewable diesel won't. It behaves the same as diesel fuel. So I think we're headed in the right direction. There are a lot of challenges, and we have reinvented ourselves over and over again, but we finally I think we've settled on a pretty good pathway, which is the wastewater. Municipalities across the country, it takes a tremendous amount of effort, political will, to upgrade your sewer facilities. The wastewater treatment facilities can be in the tens of millions of dollars, and it can take, from the time that you want to start the study to actually getting an upgrade, it can take 10 years. So as politicians, you've got to support a bond referendum to get that done, but we're all growing, and you've seen growth in Walton County, and we're getting kind of to the point where we can't, our existing sewer infrastructure can't service that growth. So what we have done is we've learned a lot from our facility up in Ackworth, Georgia, where we treat that water to the specs that Cobb County has. We've developed I don't know if y'all know where Conestoga's old trailer park was, but if you go out Highway 11, like you're going to Social Circle and you turn on Vine Street, there's an area that you'll see graded there, and we basically partnered with Wesley with Brown Oil, and together we bought that parcel, and now we're grading it. We're putting in a wastewater treatment facility, and then Wesley's in Brown Oil, they're going to be co-located with us, because he uses our trucks, we use his fuel, and it's a good cooperative relationship. But we're going to be putting a plant online, and we're going to be able to take grease trap waste and septic waste, and we're going to be able to process it and clean it up almost to a drinkable level. The technology has gotten so advanced, we invested with this group out of Singapore, where they literally go toilet to tap. They have no choice because it's a very small country, and they're able to take that water and clean it up to a point where it's drinkable. We can get that water almost to a drinkable point. We just can't get the hormones out yet. The hormones and the pharmaceuticals are going to be in there. But there's another step that you can do that. So our goal is to be able to put these facilities in place, co-located with a city. Our next one that we're going to do is right outside of Richmond, Virginia, where we kind of act as a buffer to help them deal with the water needs of the grease traps that are regulated and the septic that's regulated, and allow the area to grow. It's kind of like a mutual relationship. So we work with with Monroe to get that capacity agreement. They've been great to work with, and we're kind of at our next stage in life. And so we'll continue on the used cooking oil collection in the southeast, but it will always be complemented with the wastewater side. So that's the brief history. I never thought I'd be talking about renewable energy, organized crime, and didn't think I'd be dealing with that in my life.
So I guess there's a black market once they steal it.
Absolutely, yeah. They send it to either Africa or they'll send it to some of the Asian countries. But unfortunately, they'll also sell it to others that act like used cooking oil collectors, and then they'll try to put it out. But traceability will eventually get them. But this last bus was a really good one because they pulled a semi truck and a tanker into a vacant lot, and they had 4 vacuum trucks pull up, and they were transloading onto that tanker that oil. So it was, you saw it in the news?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Somebody sent me it.
Chick-fil-A involved as well. And yeah, I was going to ask you about it, and you mentioned it. So,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all.
Thanks for having
Do you have
me.
any questions?
Yeah, who has questions? None of mine? I'm not asking any of mine because y'all will laugh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they're not intelligent, especially the guys, you know. I don't understand the whole different fuels.
Okay, so it's simple. Ethanol is when you go and you get a vodka or a gin at the liquor store, it's either distilled and made out of wheat or corn. That goes into a gasoline vehicle. And so that's kind of it's where you're brewing something and then you're distilling it to get that alcohol off. And so ethanol is for gasoline vehicles. When you take oil, like used cooking oil, or even you can take ethanol oil, there's a byproduct of making ethanol. It's called corn oil. You can take those and instead of distilling, what you do is you do a chemical reaction and it makes a ester that has all the similar properties of diesel. And then you can blend that into diesel fuel. And just so you remember how diesel came about, Rudolf Diesel invented the diesel engine. And the reason he invented the diesel engine is that farmers, his mind was farmers need a piece of equipment that acts like a mule. So farmers, in his mind, farmers could plant an oil crop like peanuts. And much like when you had a mule, you would plant a corn crop just to feed your mule. You would do a peanut crop just to feed your tractor. So Rudolf Diesel invented the diesel engine that would burn that oil. So those are the 2 types.
Very interesting. Okay, did anybody else learn anything from that?
It is not a dumb question.
I know, but I was like, oh, the guys are gonna laugh at me if I say I don't know all the
Just Keith,
fuels.
he's not here.
Right.
This might be dumb, but like when y'all are getting this oil and stuff from the restaurants, do y'all buy it from them or do y'all just, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, like right now, it used to be a service and you would charge for the service. Right now we pay probably about $1 a gallon for the dirty oil. And then by the time you sell it, you know, it can be worth $3 to $4 a gallon. Because when the majors buy it, they get a $1 tax credit from the IRS. They get RINs from the EPA, which is probably worth $1 to $1.50. And then if you sell it to California, they have a low carbon fuel market, and that can be 40 cents to 50 cents. So it's those credits that make the price of oil. But I mean, it's a very volatile market. Like 6 months ago, we were selling oil for $3.50, and now it's like $2. So it's constantly up and down. But when these majors put in these pre-treatment facilities, they plug them onto their refinery, That's $1 billion investment. Wow. And the people that we sell to, they're, just one of them is a Valero partnership. Valero has one of these units in New Orleans and then another one in Texas. And there's 750 million gallons a year each. To give you an idea, they'll go through 100 rail cars and 2 barges of oil in a day. I mean, they're just incredibly huge.
And the diesel is cleaner burning than the regular diesel, right?
Yeah, that renewable diesel is carbon neutral, so it is a lot cleaner burning.
I know I visited your facility several years ago, and you had a tractor that was burning your diesel. And I got down there and smelled it, and it's like French fries. I love to smell his exhaust on it. It smelled just like French fries. It's great.
You were just hungry.
So when you hear like Delta Airlines say they're going to be carbon neutral by so-and-so date, it's just the fuel to burn is going to be different.
So that's called SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel. And a lot of these renewable diesel plants, they can, with a plug-in, they can make sustainable aviation fuel. And they've been running flights over the Atlantic for a while now on that stuff.
Test flights.
I don't want
Yeah,
real
test
fast.
So what was your background before you started doing this?
I was a poli-sci major. I knew no chemistry, no engineering.
Oh, wow.
And so I just learned by going and seeing what other people do, and then getting people smarter than me to help me grow the business. But we've got a good group of people. We've got, like I was telling you, we're in about 6 locations now. All together, we probably have 65, 70 employees in all those states. But it's been tough. I mean, insurance rates go up. We have some terrible stuff going on. I think society has really gotten kind of lost. We're really dealing with a suicide just the other day where one of our semi-drivers was driving and somebody tried to commit suicide by running out in front of him on the interstate. And so you just think about if that happened, and it was near Montgomery, so we knew the guy was probably going to be dealing with shock, and so we had to drive there, with our safety manager, and then he came back with Hunter, and then our guy, the safety manager, drove it back. But I mean, society's kind of, it's getting harder and harder to navigate a business in this world, and we were kind of talking about it earlier here. It's just, but I do believe that in the long run, humans will get back on track. It's just going to take some time. But it's been tough. But we've got good people, and we got a good city to work with. It's been that whole development out there. That hasn't been easy because we basically had 16.5 acres of land, and then all the rains came in. Remember, we had one rain where we got 6 inches of rain in 2 hours. It's crazy. Well, good. Thank y'all so much for
We will close with one last shot of Monroe Walton Center for the Arts, better known as the Art Guild, downtown Monroe. This is all handmade, all of this stuff in here. The lights, gingerbread, men, all of this. They have done a wonderful job on decorating. This is Paul Mullins with Walton Entertainment. Tonight, November the 2nd, is Light Up the Night in Monroe, and now we'll start here at the Art Guild, and you can see they are very decorated here and over here to the side. Now we'll go downtown and let you see some of the decorations. And they've got the s'mores going again, so people are roasting their marshmallows.
Hi, I'm Jody Johnson. I'm here with another recreation report. One of the things that we've got going on that's a new program for us. If you remember, we had Danny Thomas on a couple shows ago, and we were talking about our craft fair. And we didn't know we'd get this big of a response, but we've got over 50 vendors that have signed up for next Saturday that's coming up. Down at Social Circle at the new community center, there'll be over 50 vendors. And what you can expect to see if you go, it's a free program to walk into. And we'll have people that have made homemade quilts. They're going to make wreaths and ribbons. And we've got a blacksmith going to be there. So there's over 50 vendors that are all mostly local folks that go in and they make different crafts and things. So come in and check that out. I think there's going to be some homemade cookies, some folks there doing that. So a lot of different things that people want to show off. There will be some things that are for sale. I'm sure you can, with 50 different vendors that have come in, it'll be a very good show to walk through. And it's inside, so no weather permitting things there. No worry about the rain or the cold that happens to come in. So go and check out the craft fair next weekend down in Social Circle at the it's on Fairplay Road, 550 Fairplay Road. So Fairplay Drive, I'm sorry, 550 Fairplay Drive in Social Circle. So come out to the first annual craft fair that'll be going on. He's got some other events that he's planned a couple of months. I know he's got his petting zoo coming up out at Crystal Park, and then we have a cornhole tournament that we're going to put on. We're looking at some pickleball events, and speaking of the pickleball, the courts at Crystal Park are now ready to be played on. We have lights there. They'll be on, available to be turned on up until about 10 o'clock each night. I know a time changing this Sunday, so get ready to turn your clocks back. It's as the temperature's dropping and it's more difficult to get out there during the sunlight hours, so we did light those courts at Crystal Park. So now we have the 4 courts in between at Ayers Park. We have 4 courts at Crystal Park. We're working on creating some indoor ones there at the Ag Center at Crystal Park as well. Also, this Saturday that's coming up, as this airs, we're opening up the Frisbee Golf Course. So we'll have our ribbon cutting for that, and the Frisbee Golf Clubs have about 50 guys that are going to come out and play the course for a tournament that morning. So if you're interested in that, go to our website. We'll have something on that as well with the Frisbee Golf Course. It's a very nice course. The club has gotten donations and have concreted all the tee pads, so it's a very nice place to play. And my understanding, it's a very woody course. It's a lot of mature pine trees that you have to kind of throw around through the lanes to get it in the basket. But it's one of the nicer courses in the area there at Ayers Park as well. Our basketball season is now underway, so we're starting our practices, and games will start in a couple weeks. So looking forward to our basketball program getting started. Again, with the weather changing, please come out to the community center. It's a great time to join the club, the membership of the community centers, and come to Meridian, Felker, or South Walton Park. So look forward to seeing you come and utilize our exercise areas or get into one of our classes that we have. If you're 60 and over, it's free. All you do is buy a one-time membership card, and that'll get you in and out. You can sign in. As you walk in, we have a very friendly staff that will be glad to explain how all that works if you want to come by one of our community centers. If you have a membership to one, you're a member at all 3, you can go wherever's convenient to you or whatever center you like to attend. Our local football program is, we've got about 4 teams that are left in the playoffs. This is a semifinal weekend, and then the teams that win will advance to the North Georgia Youth Football Championship, which will be in a couple weeks. So looking forward to that. So got the holidays coming up, only about 3 weeks till Thanksgiving, and then Christmas will be here before you know it. So happy holidays to everyone, and Look forward to seeing you at a park near you. Till next time, thank you very much.
Hi and welcome to Monroe Walton Center for the Arts and Merry Christmas. Our Christmas shop is open. We will be open through December 24th. We usually stay open about half a day, maybe 12 or 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve. So feel free to come on in. We're open 7 days a week. We have 70, 80, close to 80 local artists in our shop. And then we've got our Christmas market set up with 30 artists, 32 artists with individual little boutiques of their own materials. So come in and support local artists. Nothing here is made in China. It's all locally made, maybe by somebody you know, certainly by somebody who lives very close by. I would say 80% of our artists live here in Walton County. We do have a scattered few that it might be in Watkinsville or Winder or close by Madison, Watkinsville and Athens, but most of our artists are right here in Walton County. So please do come and support local artists. You're supporting them directly. The money is going into their pockets, and it's staying here in our county, and it just is just such a blessing to them to know that something connected with you to spend your hard-earned money on. Everything in our Christmas shop is very affordable. I would say 95% of the items here in the shop is under $30. Probably 50% is under $15 or $20. So very, very affordable. You'll find something beautiful for anyone on your list. We even have toys for youngsters, anything that you would want. We, of course, are continuing to have our classes and events going on. We have on November 11th, we'll have our Saturday soiree and barbecue fundraiser. We're doing yet another barbecue fundraiser for our pottery studio. They need some new kiln shelves. We have a kiln that needs repairing again. Our kilns are running just about 24 hours a day, and I mean that almost literally. So they get a lot of wear and tear, and it takes lots of repairs and parts to keep them up and going. So that's November 11th. We'll have a pottery project that day, maybe some other things going on, but that will be a fun day for the whole family. Thursdays, all the way now through Christmas Eve, except of course Thanksgiving, will be open until 8 p.m. So please come by and browse and shop and see what we have here. We have some Christmas ornament making workshops coming up, some special painting workshops coming up, some workshops for your kids during Thanksgiving break. So if you go to our website, monroewaltonarts.org, or come in here and pick up one of our class lists, you'll see everything that you need to know. So Merry Christmas, and we'll see you soon.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens? Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.